I have a confession to make. For 4 years of my life, I lived in a sex cult. Now, before you get the wrong idea, it wasn't a cult in like a full bad sense. It was a tantra community, but from the outside, I'm sure it looked pretty extreme. We practiced tantric sex. We had rituals. We explored sexuality in ways most people would never even think about. And honestly, these 4 years completely changed the way I understand sex, intimacy, and what our bodies are actually capable of. So in this video, I want to share with you what I learned. Because most of what we're taught about sex in our society is so limited. Look, I also thought I knew everything there was, or at least almost everything, before I ended up in that community. Besides, it's sex, it's natural, right? What's there to know? But I left with knowledge that even sexologists don't have. And once you understand what's possible, it will forever change your intimate life. I'm Magda K, an intimacy expert, and every week I share videos to help you connect deeper with women and have more and better sex. So, if you don't want to miss any video, make sure to click the subscribe button below. So, the first thing I learned is that in our society, we have a very limited understanding and definition of what sex is, what sexuality is. And we really have no understanding of how expansive and amazing it actually is. Based on what I got to see and experience, I realized that even sex experts, sexologists, and doctors understand maybe like 30% of what our bodies are actually capable of. That's it. 30%. So, let's expand your understanding, okay? First, sex is so much more than just intercourse. We look at it as a black or white thing. If you're inside her, then you're having sex. If you're not, then it's not sex. And that's a big problem. Because what happens if, let's say, you're tired or one of you is not in the mood, or if, for any reason, penetration is not an option? If there are any problems with lasting longer or getting an erection, suddenly you're not having sex at all. And there's so much in between. Let me explain. If you follow me on Instagram, you know I recently had an accident and I broke my foot. Now I love training. I normally go to the gym 5 times a week. I do motocross. In fact, the accident happened during motocross. I also snowboard. I ride my bicycle almost every day. So suddenly, with a broken foot, I couldn't do any of these things. But does it mean I can't move at all? Well, no. I could swim and I was working on my upper body. I rejoined the gym and I was able to use machines that didn't put pressure on my foot. So I actually was able to maintain about 70 to 80% of my muscle mass despite the injury, despite the fact that I couldn't really train or walk for that matter. Now, if I thought that movement or sport was lifting heavy weights or riding a bike, then I would have done nothing for 3 months and I would have ended up totally out of shape after. Instead, I broadened my definition of training. Yes, there were things I couldn't do, but there's so much that I could. Can you see how the same way of thinking can apply to your sex life? If you think that sex is only intercourse, then you'll be missing out on opportunities to be sexual when intercourse, for whatever reason, is not possible. Okay. The second thing I learned is that we really separate our daily life from sex, and that's a mistake. Sex is treated as something you do or you don't. You're either having sex or not, black or white. So say you have sex 30 minutes a day, then for the rest 23 hours and 30 minutes, you're not having sex and sex is absent from your life. But what I realized is that sex isn't just a separate department in our lives. It's not something you go into occasionally. It's the foundation of life. It's intertwined with everything. Here's how I like to explain it to my clients. Imagine a house. There are many different rooms. Some you visit often, some occasionally. A bathroom, for example, you go there when you need to, but other times you're hanging out in the living room and you don't even think of the bathroom. We treat sex like a room we sometimes enter, but unless we're in it, we don't think about it. And here is the problem. What often happens is that the room labeled sex at the beginning is visited quite often, but eventually you end up spending more time in the living room, in the kitchen, in the bedroom, and the room labeled sex is not visited at all, or very, very rarely. But sex isn't a separate room. Sex is the floor of your whole house. Sex is really the foundation, and it's omnipresent. So whether you're in the kitchen, in the bedroom, or in the bathroom, or any of the rooms, sex is always there. But of course, that requires a different definition of sex, way beyond penetration. This is why I often use the word sexuality instead of sex. Because sexuality is not just the act of making love, it's the creative force. It's the instinct behind everything in life. We are all created of sex. Most men don't realize just how much sexual energy impacts everything else. Your confidence, your drive, your presence, your ability to connect with women. When you understand how to channel this energy, not just suppress it or release it, but actually use it, everything in your life changes. And this is exactly what I teach men how to do. If you want to learn more, click the link in the description. I'll show you exactly how to do it. Okay, that brings me to the last thing I learned in the Tantra community, and this one is probably the most important. Sex, sexuality, being sexual, all of it. It's something beautiful, it's something to be cherished, there's nothing to be ashamed of, which is what we do in our society. We are masters of shaming something that is natural, needed, healthy, and sacred. In Tantra, sex is considered a desire for oneness. If you think about it, when you desire someone, when you love her so much, you want to merge into one. It's such a beautiful, deep, intimate experience. And that desire, we see it everywhere. We see day and night merging into one. This, from the tantric perspective, is sex. The day and night are making love. Isn't it beautiful? So it's a very deep, poetic way of looking at it. We consider sexual desire to be sacred because it's desire for oneness. And in spiritualities and religions, oneness is the definition of the state of enlightenment. And this is how sex is a spiritual practice in Tantra, and why sexual desire is considered divine. And this is also why, in Tantra, you don't look at sex as a quickie. We surely don't look at it as a way to release stress or a quick, meaningless pleasure. It's a deep, profound experience that opens the heart. You go deep with the other person. You reveal yourself. You open yourself to the other person. It's such a beautiful experience. It's a deep experience. There's no place for superficial sex that's just a stress release, and there surely isn't space for non-consensual manipulation to get someone to bed or selfish sex. And of course, Tantra has so many techniques and tools: yoni and lingam massage, tantric sex rituals. We talk about channeling different energies through us during sex. We can manifest with sexual energy. We call this sex magic. We also have energy orgasms. So there are all of these things that most people haven't even heard of, but they're absolutely available to everyone, men and women. It's just about learning the right techniques. Now, I mentioned earlier that sex is so much more than just intercourse, and I want to show you exactly what I mean by that. So watch this video next, where I break down exactly how to have sex without penetration and why it can actually be even better than regular sex.